Well, hello everyone, and welcome aboard the cruising show here on Northern Viking Explorer. You can watch us here on YouTube, over on Facebook, on Twitter, or you can listen to us on your favorite podcasting platform, or you can head on over to thecruisingshow.com, and that will guide you over to our website where you can find the most recent episodes.
Today we're talking about the cruise port of Puerto Vallarta. But I'm curious, where are you all watching from? Please let us know in the comments below. We love talking cruise, so we're so glad that you've joined us today.
Yeah, for sure. I see Pelila, I believe it is from Las Vegas. I know Mike, he just got off of the Panorama this morning, so there's a few of you out there. We'd love to hear where you are from. And yeah, it's a great day to be talking about cruising. I see Iowa. Thank you, Tanya, for joining us from Iowa as well. So we appreciate you all joining us. I know, as I just mentioned, Mike just got off the Panorama from his sailing to the Mexican Riviera. So we might have to ask you some questions there, Mike, if you're still watching later down the road. So should we just dive right into it, Andrea?
Yeah.
So awesome. So again, we're going to be talking about the cruise port of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. We've been there a few times, twice with Carnival and once with Royal Caribbean, and we really enjoy this port.
I really like it, and it's interesting because the cruise lines usually go to Cabo, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta.
Yes.
And they're all very, very different.
For sure.
I would say like Cabo is mostly your real quiet, typical like resort. Everything is set up for resort. Mazatlan feels very like authentic and like
industrial,
but old Mexico.
Yeah.
Like very like if you want to find that traditional, there are definitely resort areas. But Puerto Vallarta to me feels like a bigger city when you show up. Like it has all the or most of the stores that we're used to seeing. It has the big infrastructures.
Yeah.
It feels like a big city. For me, it would be probably the easiest one to go live in. I would feel it would be most
yeah, well, they've got Costco, they've got Walmart, they've got shopping malls, all that kind of stuff. So it does feel, I mean, they've got the tourist areas as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But it definitely has a big city vibe to it. Not like big city New York vibe, but like big city compared to the other ports you visit for sure. So our first topic that we're going to be chatting about today is just good to know. So I know there's some things we wanted to mention here as well. Similar to last week when we talked about Cabo, most of the vendors, even I know over at Walmart and different places, they do accept US dollars. We don't typically bring pesos when we go.
No.
We usually just bring US dollars. But one thing we should mention is that you usually get your change in pesos. So again, I think if you have smaller bills, that's a good idea, and try to use up your pesos as you go. That's probably a good way to
sometimes you have better bargaining power if you bring pesos.
That's true.
Because they tend to round up when they accept US money.
Yes.
For me, it's not really not a big deal, but I guess if you're trying to really
I think if you're buying lots of souvenirs and things, then maybe it's good to have pesos. But if you're just buying beverages and maybe the odd little things, it's probably not too big of a deal. So that would be one thing. The other thing we wanted to mention is many of the vendors do speak English.
Yes.
But I found not as much as Cabo.
True. And I think because Cabo is really set up for the tourists coming in, and they have so many cruisers and holidays all in one compact area that is their market, is serving the tourists in the area. When you go into Puerto Vallarta, they're serving the city of Puerto Vallarta.
Yes.
It's not just cruisers. It's not just tourism there.
It's not just cruisers who go to Walmart. It's all the locals who are buying their groceries and things like that.
So not everyone speaks English though, but you can usually find somebody that can.
Yeah, or at least understands a little bit. So so that's good to know. I mean, I'm sure in Cabo and Mazatlan, if you go a few blocks back from the dock there, you're going to have less people that speak English. But vendor wise, I felt like less people could understand you in Puerto Vallarta. The other thing we did want to mention is, again, this is a docked port, so it's not tendered. I always like those because you get off the ship I should say this. I love tenders because they're fun, but it takes a lot longer to get off the ship.
Yeah, and you have to pre-think it in time. You could have to line up, but so when you just get to walk right off, it's much faster and easier to get on and off, even though the tender can be fun.
So it's a dock port. You get off the ship. It's really quick to get off. And we'd already mentioned it's a larger city. There's also lots of resorts. It's definitely a resort town. A lot of people fly to Puerto Vallarta to just spend the time there for the week. So those are kind of some of the basics that we thought we'd point out for Puerto Vallarta. Now, we're going to jump over from there. Let me pull this up here. We're going to first off start talking about the pier and the cruise terminal. So the pier and the cruise terminal, as we'd mentioned, it is your dock. Now, we've actually been docked in a few different locations here, so it does support multiple ships. I believe the Panorama usually docks next to kind of a little shopping mall.
It's the terminal.
The terminal, the cruise terminal. But we've been docked over on the other side a couple of times as well, really close to the shopping mall. So to the point where I was able to get free Wi-Fi on the ship from the food court in the shopping mall. We were that close at the back of the ship. So, we're a little bit further away when we were there on the Panorama last time. So,
but it is in the same area. It's not a different area of town. It's just
no, it is in the same area, but like a ship length further down or two.
Yeah.
So, I believe where the Panorama usually parks is probably the most developed because they have a little kind of shopping area when you get off the ship with kind of your cruise stores, little restaurants, Diamonds International that you'll see at almost every cruise port, different things like that. So, and there's little souvenir shops in there as well, duty-free shop, and you can buy excursions in there as well.
Yes. Well, and the one time they also have like excursion meetup areas in there, and I unknowingly thought I would sit down and relax one time, and I was sitting in a reserved area for excursion seats. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. So this is back from the Panorama looking down. There is a little flea market down there as well that you'd have to. That's not part of the cruise port, but right next to it. And if you look way off in the distance, that's where kind of the old town and the malecon would be, way behind those towers there, for those of you watching on the stream. So that's what kind of the one side looks like from the ship. When you get off the ship, this would be the Panorama side. Again, it's docked, so you can walk down the dock and they'll take photos of you. You can purchase those photos from the ship, all that kind of stuff. So when you go inside, again, a little shopping mall area with Diamonds International again, and all the kind of souvenir stores that you would see.
Yes, you do have to walk through, what would you call it, the cruise terminal when we docked there.
Yeah, you can't just sneak out. They do force you through there. And again, they do sell excursions in there. I would say not nearly as many excursions being sold there as Cabo.
Yes.
Or as many taxi drivers. There's lots of taxis, but there in Puerto Vallarta, there was a limited amount of excursions. This one, you can see there's buggy tours and car rentals and different things, but I think there was definitely more vendors in Cabo. So, any other thoughts you wanted to stay there?
No, it's a nice port and it's easy to get right off the ship, and I do really like the location.
Yes, no, it's convenient.
Yeah.
So, from there, I think across the street. So is that everything we had to say about the dock? Yeah.
Yes, I like talking about. This is obviously this is not the reason that you would go to Mexico, but it's very convenient.
Yeah, so we're talking about what kind of the port is like, not so much the different excursions and things like that. So there's definitely a lot at the port. We'll get into like the downtown and the malecon in a moment, but across the street from the port, you will find there's a big shopping mall. As well as there's a Walmart and a Sam's Club. So not what you would see at most ports.
It's convenient if you need to purchase anything.
Yeah, no, it is.
If you've forgotten that you need, if you're traveling with little kids and need maybe diapers or more sunscreen
Yeah.
or shampoo or anything medications.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
And the Walmart looks just like any other Walmart that you'd see.
Except it looks very expensive, and I know it's all in pesos, but it does take me back. I'm like, wow.
And the cool thing, actually, if you don't have a Wi-Fi package on any of the ships, as soon as we walked into Walmart, our phones connected because we'd already had it connected to Wi-Fi in the US. So they had free Wi-Fi in Walmart if you do need that as well, which is really, really quite handy. And in there as well, inexpensive beverages, and it can get hot there in Puerto Vallarta. So a very convenient location to go load up on beverages. That being said, when you get off the ship, you'll see little gas stations and things, of course. OXXO, kind of the 7-Eleven, where you can grab beverages.
And the prices are really affordable, I found, in OXXO. So if you're just going in to get a beverage, that would be much faster.
Yeah, I know a lot of the sodas in Walmart were kind of 15 to 20 pesos, so less than $1 for a beverage. So we usually grab a couple things and put it in our backpack so for the day, so we're not overheating for sure. And lots of souvenirs in Walmart as well. So if you're coming back, I know it's nice to support local vendors as well, but it was a lot of the same things in Walmart that you'd see out.
It's super convenient too if you're wanting to pick up a couple things before you get back on the ship too.
Yeah, because it's just right across the way there. And then from there, right next to that, of course, there was the Sam's Club. Not that you're there to shop, but there's the Galleria Vallarta shopping mall is right there as well, which is
really nice mall.
A really nice shopping mall for sure.
Very clean. A lot of higher end stores. It was nicely air conditioned.
There's Starbucks.
And you know what? Actually, we bought our Los Cabos mug in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, we bought it ahead of time in Puerto Vallarta because we didn't know if they'd have them in Cabo, so we bought it there. So if you're like us, where we collect Starbucks mugs, you can grab those right there.
They had a lot of food options too in the food fair there.
Yes,
and I have to say they have free washrooms there.
We get to that in a moment, but
okay,
so there's Liverpool, which is a large department store. So if you need swim trunks or you need a hoodie or something because you're cold or it's a cold trip, you can run into Liverpool. And then the food fair, as you're chatting about. So Burger King, McDonald's, Subway, and again, you're not really going there for that, but maybe you've had too much sun and you just need to get out of the sun. You can head on over to the shopping mall and be in the air conditioning. One of the reasons we actually go over to the shopping mall is because right next to the food fair is a little patio, and you can get great photos of the ship. So this time the panorama, again, we were docked a little bit further away, but often the ships are docked right in front of the shopping mall here, and you can get great photos from this little patio on the
This is on the second floor, so upstairs in the mall.
Yeah. So we usually head on over there to get photos and grab some beverages while we're there. So So any other thoughts about that area across the street, or?
No, I just think it's really convenient, and it makes it really nice before you head down towards the Malecon or out for whatever you're going to do for the day.
No, I agree. It's and it's pretty quick. It's not, a few hundred meters. The one thing though, when you cross the street, I always get a chuckle when I cross the street. The what would you call it?
The run sign?
The walk sign, it actually shows someone, I would say, really, really walking fast or running.
It's like running.
So be careful when you cross the street because it is a busy street.
They did have police helping with the traffic when we went across the street with getting people safely across the road, which was nice.
Yeah. And that's what Team Carl is saying here is the most surprising thing about Puerto Vallarta was the traffic, a lot of traffic, and did not suspect that. So, or expect that. So yeah, again, especially that main busy street.
I would say, I don't know if it's technically a highway, but it is definitely busy like a highway.
Yeah.
It's very busy.
Yeah, no, for sure. So
yeah, thanks, Carl.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So from there, let's jump over to transportation, and I do want to bring this up here. So one of the common things that people will do is head on down to the Malecon and Old Town. We enjoy doing that. It's fairly inexpensive to do, and there's a lot to see down there. So I know when there's a couple ways you can get down there. I'm sure you can probably book something on the ship to get down there. But if you're doing it on your own, of course, you can take a taxi down there. Now, maybe one of you can speak to this. I was looking at my notes from the last time we took a taxi down there, and it was $5 per person or $10 for us to get from the ship down to the Malecon area. I don't know each way. So for the two of us, it was $10. I don't know if that is still the current rate. So if any of you have done that recently, maybe pop that in the comments. Because we've tried to be a little bit more adventurous the last couple of times we've gone. And I should mention there's lots of taxis that'll take you down there. So
especially in front of the cruise ship and at Walmart, there's a lot of taxis.
Yeah. So rather than actually the one time we did it, rather than grabbing the taxi at the ship, we actually grabbed it from Walmart. So we didn't have to walk back all the way to the ship, which just saved a little bit of time. So the other way is if you want to be adventurous, you can take the city bus. And we've done this a few times actually.
Yes.
And not that it does save you a little bit of money, but it's more an authentic experience. We kind of find it fun. So it's pretty cheap.
That's really cheap.
Yeah, it's I believe it's 10 pesos or 50 cents roughly. But usually the buses will have signs on them where they're going. But if you don't see that, we had to ask someone, and there was people that did speak English and told us which bus to get on.
And there appears to be multiple different companies of buses.
Yes. Yeah.
And they often write right on the front windshield where the buses are going, their loop.
Yeah. So commonly you'll see Walmart written on the front of the bus, so you kind of know where it's going. And I don't know if there's different prices depending on the bus. We've always just paid 50 cents. Actually, we gave them $1 per person, but because we didn't know how much it was. But and they didn't give us change, which was fine. It's kind of a fun experience.
There was the bus going into the Malecon this time was actually quite full.
Yes.
And there was a fellow busking on we have a photo here. He's playing the guitar, and it was actually quite nice.
Yeah.
So just maybe it's good to be prepared, because that's why, I always like having a couple ones handy, so that if you want to, you can contribute.
I honestly feel like the gentleman playing the guitar on the bus made the whole trip worth it. It was so much fun listening to him play the guitar on the bus, and super friendly people. We kind of chatted with a few people around us, and they, would tell us when to get off the bus. And I know we might not always have the same experience, but we've had a really good experience doing that. So the other thing I should mention, so it's about a 20-minute ride to the kind of Malecon area and about 3.5 miles. So we've actually we haven't walked the whole way, but we've walked about half the way back in the past, and then caught a bus back as well. So just to see what it's like there. So yeah, it's definitely, there's a few ways to get down there. And again, as I'd mentioned, I'm sure there's excursions that you can book with the ship that'll take you down into that area as well, or different tours that you can book.
A lot of people also rent like a hotel room for the day at resorts down along the Malecon.
Yeah.
And so some people will be enjoying the pool and their food and the ocean as well. But the Malecon, though, is a really beautiful walkway. It's a nice place. If you like to go walk along the ocean, I think you'll really enjoy the Malecon. Yeah.
So that's our next topic, is the Old Town in Malecon. So I think that's my favorite place. Like if you haven't been there before, I highly recommend going down there, because it's really a fun and vibrant place. And it's not only just cruisers who are going there, people who are staying there. A lot of people live down there maybe for the winters, that sort of thing. And this is the place they all come and hang out. So
in a place like the Malecon too, you will find more people speak English too, because they are selling to tourists.
Yes, 100%. And so the Malecon, that area, it's a big, long, I don't want to call it a street. It's kind of a cobblestone street with palm trees, the ocean's on one side, vendors, restaurants on the other side, and it's shut down to cars. So it's very
flat, walkable.
Yeah. And it's actually really well maintained.
It felt very clean.
Yeah.
The garbage cans were empty. It was very nice.
Yeah, no, it is. And this area as well, again, as I think I'd already mentioned, there's lots of restaurants and different things. There are maps as well. So snag a photo of the map so you know how to get make your way around the town. But you can't really get lost, really. No. It's kind of this long straight boardwalk, and just a lot to see there. Again, lots of restaurants. There's McDonald's, and the reason I point out McDonald's is they've got restrooms.
Yes.
Now they do prefer that you buy something there, but the cone is only 14 pesos. So
yeah, sometimes they do have somebody standing, a washroom attendant, checking to see that you have a receipt.
Yeah. So they do, and the facilities were actually really clean. It was probably one of the cleaner McDonald's cleaner than some of the ones here at home. So definitely an easy place to stop in. There's also Senor Frogs down there if you like that restaurant or like to buy their souvenirs. As you walk down the Malecon, one of the restaurants that I don't want to call it famous, but that sticks out to me every time we go down there is Oscar's. It's kind of, I don't want to call it an island, but it's kind of an island in the middle of the river, and it just looks really like, we haven't eaten there. Maybe we should eat there. But it's got the palm trees, just a really nice looking place. There's also, what else do I have here? There's a Starbucks down there, Lobster House, and probably 100 other restaurants that you could choose from down in that area.
Plus all the local, small, independent bars and restaurants. You'll find lots of choices.
Yeah. So Tanya's saying I'm probably going to forget to speak English in Mexico. That way I can get better prices. Yeah, I would probably imagine if you speak English, you might pay higher prices.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. I think it's time for Ken and I to learn a little Spanish.
Yeah. Well, last
Gracias.
week, yeah. I tried to learn Spanish a few times. I can say coffee with milk. So, so all the restaurants down there are a lot of interesting ones that are really interesting to check out. Now, this is really cool as well. So if you're down in the Malecon area, and we've seen this a few times there, it's called, what's it called, Andrea? The Pole Flyers, Dance of the Flyers. Do you want to explain it?
Well, it's a tradition. I don't know if it was Mayan. I don't remember. But anyways, they're on a big, tall pole, and there's about four people that are at the very top of this pole, and they're tied in, and then it unwinds and they swing around the pole while playing flutes.
Yeah.
And while somebody down on the ground plays the drums.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's probably 5 minutes long, and just if you see it happening, it's worth watching. It's kind of an acrobatic musical show, and we should mention they do this for tips, which is well worth it. So give them a couple of bucks, but everybody stops and watches them. So
you definitely can hear it. So
you can definitely hear it down the beach. Yeah.
The flute's quite high, so it catches your attention.
Yeah. So I do want to bring this up as well. So Carl mentions they use the restrooms at McDonald's, and the person checking the receipts was on break or something. So I believe the last time we were there, nobody checked when we went in, but
the first time we were there, someone had.
Yeah.
So it's
so
very true.
But like I said, if there's someone checking, grab an ice cream cone, and you're not going to regret an ice cream cone when it's really warm out, 100 degrees out. So
sometimes it's just nice to sit down too and have a little treat in the break, even if it's not very authentic Mexican.
Yeah, I don't go to Mexico to go to McDonald's, but sometimes you just need to sit down, and it's probably a good, inexpensive place to do that.
Sometimes you just need a Big Mac.
When you're on a cruise, I don't eat a Big Mac, but every once in a while. Okay, this is a side note.
Yeah.
They have the McChicken Big Mac now, or Chicken Big Mac here in Canada, anyway.
So with 2 chicken patties.
Yeah, that's just odd to me.
Are you gonna try it?
I don't know. I like Carl's point here is never use Senior Frogs as a landmark because there's 5,000 of them, and that's true. I keep saying Senior Frogs, but they are all over the place. So, but a lot of people like buying their clothing or their shirts or whatever when they're on holidays. So that's usually why I point it out. So the other thing down on the malecon, there is a lot of art and sculptures and different things like that. So statues. So I have a few of them here, but there's way more than what we kind of pointing out here. Different mermaids and things down there. There's little sand sculptures down there, rock formations. But this one's one of my favorite.
I love this one. It's a picture of a donkey, and there's a little boy trying to pull the donkey and another little boy trying to push it while the dog is pulling at the little boy's pant leg. It's just cute, and it just shows life. There's some, that one, I think, because it's small children and animals, and it's super cute. Yeah.
And then there's, I think, probably one of the most famous ones. Yeah, I always see this one when we're watching Home and Garden television, or with like Mexican House Hunter type shows, or when they're in Puerto Vallarta. It's, I don't know what the word is for it, but kind of an authentic Mexican dance, I would say, sculpture. And that's really a neat one. It's got some colors in it. And the other thing that's down here as well is the Puerto Vallarta sign. I'm
laughing because it was so busy in front of this Puerto Vallarta sign.
Yes.
Like people were lined up waiting, and then there was always a couple of people that didn't realize there was a line, and then would just go and try and snake a photo while someone else is. Yeah.
I usually just take a photo and then Photoshop us into it, but it's a lot quicker. But it's down there. Big Puerto Vallarta sign. There's a lineup. So I would say when we were there last time, maybe 15 people in line, like 5 or 6 groups.
Yeah.
So just be prepared to have to wait. Not as big as Amber Cove, where there was, 50 or 100 people in line. But I would say of all the places, especially on this trip, where the lines were the longest, where Puerto Vallarta was for sure the longest line to get a photo of the sign. Mazatlan, there was nobody. Yeah. And Cabo, there was 2 or 3 families. So
I'm wondering if we came back later in the day, though.
It's possible. The thing with Puerto Vallarta, though, because it's a resort town, you're getting not just cruisers there taking photos. Everybody who comes to Puerto Vallarta wants to grab a photo.
That's very true.
So, but it's nice. It overlooks the water, and cool little place there.
It's a fun place to get a photo.
Yes. There's also a lot of vendors in this area. So, if you want to buy your souvenirs and everything like that, lots of different markets to grab all that kind of stuff in. Your blankets. We like the Mexican blankets for here at home. You take them to the park or whatever, sit on them, and they're quite affordable. Of course, vanilla, everything like that.
I did like this one store at the marketplace. They also included US dollars on their pricing, which made it really easy to not have to convert and to if you don't want to bargain or negotiate, some of the pricing was reasonable, and you could just go in and purchase at the price listed.
Yes, for sure. And they had pharmaceuticals in this area. Of course, t-shirts were quite inexpensive, starting I think around $5 or 2 for $10 or something like that. As I'd already mentioned, vanilla you could grab in there, and all your other Mexican souvenirs. So
for sure.
And then also in this area, there's a beach. Now this is a little bit further down. So the beach, when you get on the Malecon towards the McDonald's area, is kind of rocky. But when you get further down, there's more resorts and things. So there is a beach down there. I didn't see a lot of people swimming.
No, but it did look sandy and
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So a lot of people do, if they're doing excursions in Puerto Vallarta, is very common, as I think you've already mentioned, that people will book resorts and go to them for the day. And a lot of the resorts are to the north of the ship as well. There's a lot down in this area, but a lot in the downtown, but a lot of them are also to the north of the ship. So I think typically if there's a resort, commonly they'll keep the beach area quite nice in front of it. So the other thing, this is kind of funny.
Yes.
Oh, no, I shouldn't say funny.
It was surprising to me. I didn't know this, and it might influence if you really want to go swimming.
So there's a kind of a river that runs out next to that Oscar's restaurant we already talked about. And it's been known that people have seen crocodiles in there and even been attacked by crocodiles in there. So the week before we had been, the last time someone had mentioned that there'd been crocodile sighting, like quite recently. So that is kind of interesting.
I'm not signing up to swim with the crocodiles.
No crocodile swimming for me.
I prefer like swimming with the dolphins, not swimming with the crocodiles.
Yeah. So if you're walking over kind of the bridge here, I would take a peek because you never know what you'll see. You might see a crocodile.
And we did see in the vendors, when we were there in the past, I didn't think about this.
Yeah.
There's the skulls of crocodiles. Like I never thought to think where those skulls came from, that they were actually crocodiles in the area.
Yeah.
I didn't put that together.
Yeah. So I do kind of wonder, I mean, you can see that the river comes out of the mountains there. So maybe they live further up and they come down every once in a while.
I don't know much about crocs.
And then, as I mentioned, different resorts down there, just beautiful, all the palm trees. I'd actually really like to stay here one day, right in this area at this resort or condo.
It would be really, really nice. Like just the way Puerto Vallarta is, it's so easy to use the bus. They have all the basic shopping that you're used to. It'd be easy to stay for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. This is a good point. So Tanya's saying, son and I have a day pass for the Rio Jalisco all-inclusive pool, food, beach. So that, as we'd mentioned, a lot of people do that. And I think if you're not into all the downtown, that's a great excursion for the day. It's a common thing. Or I shouldn't even call it an excursion, a great thing to do for the day.
Yeah, sounds lovely. Yeah. I'll have to Google that and see.
So if you're wondering, the Rio Jalisco is one of the places that you can do
Jalisco.
That. Jalisco. Okay. Well, my Spanish. I don't know.
Right? Does it a ha sound for the day?
Yeah. I'll have to work on that.
We learned French in school, not Spanish. So.
Well, my French is as bad as my Spanish.
True.
Thanks for sharing that, Tanya. I appreciate that. Yeah. So, so that's kind of that boardwalk or the Malecon area. From there, not too far back, kind of behind that Oscars area as well, you are going to find sort of the Old Town area. Mm-hmm. Now, the Old Town area, I kind of want to call it more of an authentic.
It reminds me more of Mazatlan.
Yes, it does.
That part.
More, I don't want to call them cobblestone streets, but they kind of are. They're big rock streets, more authentic vendors, maybe who don't have the big storefronts, as well as kind of, older architecture and different things down there. So it's worth the walk down into that area for sure. There's a little market down in that area. Lots of different stores to go in.
Stores are smaller, more quaint.
Yeah, no, it's worth the walk if you're in the area. And then down in that area as well, one of our favorite stops is the cathedral down in that area as well. So there's a large cathedral. Let me write down or look at what it's called. Parish of Our Lady Guadalupe. And I don't know, I should probably have looked up this Spanish name, but my Spanish again isn't very good. So, but beautiful cathedral down there that you can walk into, and it is free to go in, but they again appreciate donations. Course, so beautiful to check that out, and just kind of the high arches in there. Stop in there. It's kind of I don't want to call it open air, but usually all the doors are open and the breeze is blowing through. So a fun little stop. there in the in the Old Town area. It's kind of a little bit more on the edge of the Old Town.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Any other thoughts there, Andrea? Or
no, it's a very fun place to visit and walk around. They have, just it's different than what we're used to. There's like squares in the town that where people can gather and wait and sit. It's just a interesting place to check out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, on our last visit, we took the bus back from the downtown area. So we just found one that was going to Walmart, and then it was really easy.
But you know what? To be honest, it was a little more difficult this time. I didn't see Walmart written
on as many buses.
So we found someone waiting at the bus stop that spoke English, and they asked the bus drivers for us. So the first bus was a no, and then the second one we could take. It wasn't a very long wait though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like what Carl's saying. Their driver said that the massage was included when driving on the cobblestone street. So I guess all the bumping going down the streets.
The bus back to back to Walmart area, or where the cruise ship was. I don't know if there was any shocks on that bus.
No, that bus, the shocks were as hard as a rock. So it was.
We were going from side to side. We moved more than a cruise ship.
Yeah.
It was like.
Yeah. And they drive, you should know this, they commonly drive with the door open on the bus as well. So it's definitely a unique experience.
Our son enjoyed it so much, he started recording because everything was flying side to side. We were bouncing like a ride.
The bus driver's drinking from a 2-liter bottle of soda. It's just a fun experience.
Yeah.
We like kind of the more, I don't want to call it authentic, I guess, but like just more adventurous side of it. But again, taxis are pretty inexpensive there as well. So
it was fun.
So here's a question from Tanya. I joined the Facebook for the panorama, and someone said they were asking for birth certificates. Understanding was my passport and state ID. That's a good question. I will speak to our experience. We did not have to give our birth certificates. We just had our passports. Maybe I know Carl and Mike, I believe, were on there recently.
Yes.
If they can speak to that, if they had to show their birth certificates. I don't.
We usually travel with our passport.
We've never brought our birth certificates.
No.
So, but now we have a cruise coming up in a little bit, so we'll have to just double check the what they're asking for.
And maybe that's if you're not using a passport that you need both.
That could be, yeah. It's possible that if you're using your driver's license.
I don't know.
Or a second piece of ID.
But we've always used our passport.
Yeah, if anyone who was on there recently if they change that, please comment.
And that was for the panorama, asking for the birth certificate?
Yeah, that's what it's saying. So so that's a good question. We have never brought our birth certificate. No. So okay, so Carl's saying they only had their US passport.
Yeah.
So and I know Carl was just on there a week ago. So,
yeah. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. So yeah, any other final thoughts on Puerto Vallarta, or any other questions? You can pop them in the comments there, and we'll try and go over them.
Yeah, it's a really good place to visit. Really, lots to do, lots to see.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the. Yeah, like you said, it's a large city, so it definitely feels, I don't know, like a big city vibe.
Yeah.
Even though it's in Mexico, there's big cities in Mexico. It just has a different vibe. So, yeah. So Carl's saying here. So that is all we ever used on the sailing for the February 25th. So yeah. So that was very recent that they just had to use their passport. But it's always good to just keep up to date. And before you sail, just double check what the requirements are.
Absolutely, yeah.
because things can always change, as we've seen the last few years. So.
That's so true.
But I guess if there's no other comments, we'll wind it down there. We appreciate you all watching the cruising show here on Northern Viking Explorer. Again, you can watch it here on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Twitter. You can even listen to it on your favorite podcasting platform. So make sure you hit that like or subscribe button and head on over to the cruising show. That'll take you to our website where you can find it as well. So thank you, everyone,
Thank you
for watching. And until next time, have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.